اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Welcome, dear students, to the distance learning program of Pakistan International School, Doha, Qatar. Let's continue with the reading and explanation of Unit 1, His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty. In our previous lesson, we did reading and explanation of first 3 paragraphs, and at the end of reading and explanation, we also wrote answers to in-text questions with each paragraph. Whereas in today's lesson, we'll be doing reading explanation of the remaining paragraphs of this lesson with meanings of difficult words. You are all supposed to listen to the video lecture of this lesson very carefully, because at the end of every paragraph you will have to write answers to certain in-text questions which require a full concentration on your part, so that you are in a position to write the answers to those questions. Well, dear students, in the preceding paragraph, we came to know that the family of the young seagull tried to devise many ways to make him fly. And one of the tactics which they applied was to keep him hungry for a certain period of time, so that out of necessity he dives forward and starts flying. But all their efforts went in vain. He kept there on the ledge and tried to find some means of reaching his parents without having to fly. Now, what did he do then? He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended means posed as if sleeping, to be falling asleep, like you see him standing here on this in this picture. Now, why did he do so? He did so in order to seek the attention of his parents. But even in spite of this, his family, they took no notice of him. He saw his 2 brothers and his sister lying on the plateau. Plateau means highland, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. Dozing means sleeping. Means his brothers and his sister, they were lying on the plateau and they were sleeping with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Preening means cleaning, means he was cleaning his feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump. Hump means a mounted projection on the plateau. Her white breast thrust forward. Breast means chest, means that his mother was standing on a little high mounted projection on the plateau, and her white chest was thrust forward. Now and then she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet, and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. Means she had a little piece of fish lying at her feet. What did she do? She off and on she tore at a piece of fish and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. Why was she doing so? She did so to divert his attention towards the food, so that out of hunger he dives forward and starts flying. The sight of the food maddened him. Now this trick worked very well. Since he was already dying of hunger and he had not eaten anything since the previous nightfall, that is why when he saw his mother tearing at a piece of fish. The sight of the food made him crazy. Maddened means made him crazy. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. Wet it means to sharpen it. Means it reminded him of his own days when his mother used to bring him the food in the ledge on the ledge, and he used to tear food that way and scrape his wings now and again to sharpen it. His beak now and again to sharpen it. He uttered a low cackle. His mother cackled too and looked over at him. Well, dear students, hope you have understood reading explanation of paragraph 4. Now it's your turn to apply your understanding and writing answers to these in-text questions, which are appearing on your screen in front of you. Answers have already been discussed during. Alright, dear students, let's go ahead with the reading explanation of paragraph number 5. Go, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. Go, she screamed back derisively. Derisively means mockingly. Mockingly means scornfully or in a criticizing way. But he kept calling plaintively. Plaintively means sadly. And after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. Now, why did he keep calling out to his mother? He did so as he wanted her to bring some food to him. Now, why did he utter a joyful scream? The reason behind this is in this picture. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. When he saw his mother flying across to him with a piece of fish in her beak, he thought that she was coming towards him and she would give that piece of fish to him. That is why he became happy and he uttered a joyful scream. He leaned out. Leaned out means extended forward to reach out to food eagerly. Eagerly means excitedly. Tapping the rock. Tapping means beating the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. Well, this trick of the mother bird, it worked very well. Let's see how it proved fruitful for the seagull's family in order to make him fly. But when she was just opposite to him, abreast of the ledge, abreast means alongside the ledge, she halted. Halted means paused, means she stopped for a while, her legs hanging limp. Limp means loose, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of his beak. He waited in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived up at the fish. Now, this trick of the mother bird, it worked very well because she swooped past the young seagull without without offering him the piece of fish which she was holding in her beak. It made him wonder why she hadn't come near him. And then, maddened by hunger, means getting crazy because of hunger, he dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into the space. His mother had swooped upwards. Swoop means swiftly moved upwards. As he passed beneath her, he heard the swish of her wings. Swish means the sound of the movement of her wings. Well, dear students, you notice that the trick of the seagull family, it worked very well. First, They all kept him hungry for a certain period of time. The idea behind this was to encourage him to take risk in order to survive and in order to make his first flight. Then the mother seagull employs a psychological trick. What was that trick? She first roused his hunger by pecking at a piece of fish at her feet while sitting on her ledge. Then she flew with the same piece of fish towards the young seagull, but halted in the air just opposite to his ledge, maddening him further with the sight of food. That's how she tactfully forced him to fly. But when he made his first flight, for a moment he felt that a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. Monstrous means enormous or huge. Terror means fear. Seized means grabbed or gripped him, and his heart stood still. Still means motionless. Means he felt as if a huge fear had gripped him and his heart had stopped working. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. Means that this condition of him, it lasted for a few minutes. The next moment he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his pressed feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. Means he just felt a bit dizzy. Dizzy means faint. Then he swooped his wings once and he soared upwards. Gaw, 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 gaw. Gaw ule. His mother swooped past him. Swooped means flew past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him, curveting. Curveting means moving in a joyful manner, and banking. Banking means sporting, and soaring and diving. Means now finally he had made his first flight. And when he had done it, he found all his family members who had kept him starved of death for a certain period of time. He found all of them flying around him. They were praising him. They were soaring and diving together with him, and they were also sporting him, and they were also raising their joyful cackles in order to appreciate him, in order to acknowledge his first flight. But you saw that falling down first, the young seagull, he felt a bit dizzy, as if his brain had stopped working. He felt blank, but then he sensed his wings automatically spreading out. This stopped him at his headlong fall. He no longer felt afraid and flapped his wings and soared upwards. He also uttered a joyous scream and flapped his wings again to soar higher. And then later on he found all his family members supporting him and also appreciating him for his effort. Well, dear students, it's now your turn to apply your understanding and writing answers to these in-text questions. Alright, dear students, let's go ahead with the reading explanation of last paragraph. And then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and commenced himself. Commence means started himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. Shrieking means screaming shrilly. Means once he had made his first flight, he was dare enough to carry on with that, and he was no more afraid of anything which he was afraid of before, and he was screaming shrilly. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over this ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges. Ridges means elevations moving over it, and he turned his back sideways and caught. Caught means screamed amusedly. Amusedly means with amusement. And around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps. Scraps means small pieces of dogfish. He had finally made his first flight. Well, dear students, the significant thing in here in the bird's first flight is the realization that fear hinders our progress. It rusts our energies and brings failures and disgraces upon us. It is natural to have fear about and of something new. The seagull is not sure of what will happen if he jumps, but he doesn't know that he is born to fly. This absence of surety stops him to have the real fun, which is his natural gift. He wins only when he defeats his fears. The lesson which we get from the story of young seagull is that one should not let one's fears cut and obstruct one's chance and progress respectively. It is a fact that doing something, especially a daring thing, for the very first time may appear nerve-breaking and arduous. Arduous means difficult, but one should not think it impossible. Impossibility of something is only an idea of failing. This should not be accepted without trying one's best and testing one's ability. We remember, my sons, we fail only when we quit without trying. Well, dear students, these are some of the in-text questions from paragraph 6 which you are supposed to answer. In the end, you have a home task. Read text of the lesson again very carefully, focusing on the meanings and explanation of important points. Number 2, write down answers of all in-text questions and send their pictures to your teacher for correction and feedback. Number 3, write answers of comprehension questions given at the end of the lesson. And most importantly, you are supposed to apply the lesson learned from this story of young seagull in your practical life. Be daring and learn to take risks and face challenges in order to survive in this competitive world. Thank you so very much and have a nice day ahead.